think we're going. We'll see. It says, am I live? I think I'm live. I think I'm live. Hello, beautiful people. It's Bonnie Gillespie here with you at the beginning of Virgo season. Mercury is retrograde. Happy Thursday. Have you hugged yourself today? And even if you have, do it again because it feels good. I'm live. Tell me that you're here, that you can hear me and see me because I am rusty at my live streams. It has been a long time since I have been doing these regularly, but it's good to see y'all. Hope you're well. I hope you are having fun with your hot witch summer. Those of you who are joining me for 44 days with Venus, we are almost at the end of Venus retrograde. Almost. Oh, good. I saw a little thing, so I believe that it is happening in front of people. Let me change the live chat to make sure I can see everything. Yay! Beautiful people. I realized, I was like, I didn't even set a topic for today, and I meant to. Like, I was going to have like a whole, like, here's what we're going to talk about, and here's what we're going to dive in on together. And then I realized that I totally didn't come up with that because I am so, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped for tomorrow's webinar. If you're not signed up, you can do so. I believe there's a lag in the chat, but I'm going to try to put this in the chat and see. I don't know how long it takes for y'all to see it. I don't know if I'll be able to know, but here is the place to sign up for tomorrow's webinar. Whenever that shows up in your chat, it's bonniegillespie.com/webinar. Melanie Weller and I are going to be doing a webinar on Friday, the 25th of August at 11 a.m. Pacific. So at the time that this is live, a day later, on aligning your nervous system with the solar system. And I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because the amazing Melanie Weller has actually gone through and analyzed each of our physical systems, all the various ways that things are routed through our systems, and notice that they're a lot like the constellations. And I'm so freaking excited because we're going to go through, I believe, by element. So like if you are air dominant or water dominant or earth or fire, you are going to have a series of simple little exercises that you can do that allow you to control your nervous system, calm yourself down, get yourself feeling good, relax, all that fun stuff. So very excited about this tomorrow because Melanie and I have been wanting to collaborate for a while, and now we are finally going to do so, and that is tomorrow. And of course, if you're not able to join us live, make sure you sign up and we will get you the link to access the replay. Okay, good. I'm so glad. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Raina. Thank you, Keith. Keith has already retracted the message that was once here, but I believe you said something wonderful, so thank you. Okay, fabulous. I love it. Yay. Okay, good. We made it. So, Mercury retrograde. How's it feeling? Are you enjoying Mercury retrograde? We were having a discussion in our Discord. We have a chart harmony Discord, and we were having a conversation there about the unpleasantness that some feel around Mercury and Mercury retrograde. And, you know, that's the one we get the most practice with, but all the planets go retrograde. I mean, and technically, if you were on a different planet, Earth would go retrograde because it's just an illusion of backward motion. It's not actually backward motion. It is an illusion based on where you are in your point of view while both are in motion. And so because we are all moving around the sun, every planet looks at some point retrograde to us here on Earth. The only two things that we would never witness as retrograde or in that illusion would be the sun and the moon, because we're going around the sun and the moon's going around us. And so those are really simple, straightforward luminaries just doing their thing. But the planets all at some point do appear as if they are in retrograde motion. We just experience Mercury more because it's closest to us. And that makes sense in the math of it all, because we are so close to one another. That visual illusion, that optical illusion happens more frequently, sometimes up to 4 times a year, but at least 3 times a year, every year. And this is one of our times this year. And Alexandra says, I have been exhausted the last few days. Is Mercury a big player in your chart, Alexandra? I can't remember. I think you have big Saturn, if I recall correctly. I'm trying to remember. It's been a minute. But Mercury, it is the one, and I gender the planets, and the gender for the planet Mercury is gender fluid, because Mercury loves to change. Mercury loves to trick you. Mercury loves to switch things up, and so I like to use they as the preferred pronoun for Mercury. They are the ones that are in control of our communication and our technology and our close in travel and travel plans and the communication about those plans. And so it can kind of become exhausting. It can certainly become frustrating, because we will have tech issues, we will have communication breakdowns, we will believe that we have agreed we're going to meet at a certain time, and then the information goes wonky. An email will go out wrong. Someone you are certain understands you and has your best interest at heart is going to just completely confuse what you said and decide that you said something mean or cruel when you didn't. It's really easy to get snagged when Mercury is retrograde, because Mercury specifically rules things that are easy to just move fast with. And Mercury is a fast moving planet. So that speed that we're used to using with Mercury doesn't do us any favors when it comes to things like the retrograde illusion. That speed actually ends up tripping us up. And so the real key to getting through Mercury retrograde without much stress is just give yourself more time. Take a breath. Give yourself a little bit of space. Double check things. I was scheduling something for this weekend with an astrologer in Australia, and we've been back and forth with the scheduling. And I, in one of the early emails, dropped my Zoom link and said, great, we'll just meet in my Zoom room. And then one of the replies was, okay, so are you going to set up the Zoom invitation, or am I? And I was like, here's the link again. You can just, and I was like, don't even feel like, oh, I have to send the link again. It is Mercury retrograde. We would prefer this back and forth than this assumption, because here I am thinking I've dropped my link. She knows she'll go there. And then what if the meeting time comes and she's waiting for some invitation from within Zoom rather than that link that was in an email 3 back and forths ago, and I'm like, this is Mercury retrograde. This is exactly how it works. And of course we're in different time zones. So there's also the, are we getting the time right? And so of course we will both be completely okay if things get wonky, because Mercury retrograde. It's just to be expected. Okay, Alexandra, my Mercury is in Aquarius. That's a tough one in the 4th with your sun. Otherwise, I don't think it has a big influence. Yeah, Mercury in Aquarius can also be challenging, specifically because that, Saturn rules that house for you. Aquarius is Saturn ruled. But so by having a Mercury Aquarius, there's that energy of that, you've seen me do it 1,000 times, the floopy floppy arms akimbo, that wacky wiggly balloon creature outside the used car dealership. That is that Aquarius energy, because it is bolted to the ground, fixed energy. And it is, of course, air. So it is constantly doing bloop, 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 trying to get the message out, but feeling fixed and incapable of all the movement that is actually trying to move through it. And so I would imagine for Mercury, that's probably pretty frustrated energy, because, Mercury would prefer to move. Mercury would prefer to never be in the same place twice. And so that fixed energy can be challenging. I'm going to turn on just a little bit of air in here. Hopefully that does not dominate my microphone or my hair, but if it does, that's all right. All right. Jackie says Mercury in Capricorn. So that talk about Saturn, both of you with your Saturn ruled Mercuries. Yeah. Yep. That Capricorn's a little less frustrated energy, because, Capricorn is a cardinal sign, and that earth sign is okay as well. That's a little less of that, like, stuff, like I can't move. Yeah. Irritated or irritable too. But also, Alexandra, we just got out of a Scorpio moon, and I don't know about y'all, but Scorpio moon for me, there's a Post-it somewhere in this house, and the Post-it says, the moon is in Scorpio. be gentle. And I actually have a picture of that posted up in my Chart Harmony Instagram account if you scroll back a ways. Because, every month the moon goes through all the signs. So we get to experience all of them, usually for a couple of days. And the 2.5 days that the moon is in Scorpio tend to be a little extra. They tend to be pretty rough for me. They're just, it's an irritant. First of all, the moon doesn't like being in Scorpio. It's not a comfortable place astrologically, but also it's just so sensitive. All the water moons are sensitive. A moon in Cancer, a moon in Pisces, a moon in Scorpio, all of them are going to be super sensitive, of course, because water. But also Scorpio has this Mars rulership. It's got this stinger. It's got this energy of what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to get me? Like, there's this, Scorpio is suspicious, and a Scorpio moon has this intuitive ability to pick up on every emotion, every intention, even the ones that were just temporary thoughts that then flew away. And so Scorpio can be a lot for that moon. So especially if you have felt a lot just in the past, seriously, since, what would this be? Monday afternoon, LA time, 4:22 p.m. is when the moon went into Scorpio, and then just went into Sagittarius about 10 hours ago. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Janine, good to see you. If it's an illusion, why does it affect us? I know it does, but it's weird. I'm Gemini, and I'm arguing more with my toxic person. Oh, Janine, honey, isn't that a thing? Yes. Oh gosh, going to make moon transit in Scorpio post-it of my own. Yeah, Vio, I got to tell you that post-it has saved my marriage, because we put that post-it up to remind us, please be gentle with yourself and with one another, because Scorpio moon is not doing us any favors in our ability to be kind to one another. And then, of course, Mercury retrograde on top of it right now. Yeah, yesterday was a lot. Okay, so Janine, let's talk about that, because I love this question. This is a big, deep, philosophical question, right? Because if it is an illusion, why does it affect us? You're pretty much asking, why does astrology work? Because all of it is a perspective-based system. All of it is us saying, well, we're here on this planet in these skin suits. We've got our souls and our spirits rocking this human form for whatever temporary period of time that we're here. And we are looking outside of this space. And this is true for religion too. We're looking outside of this space to make sense of, why are we the way we are? Why do things feel the way they feel? And we're looking to things that we can see, the planets, the constellations, the zodiac, our moon, our sun, also the planets that we can see with technology that's farther out. And there are some astrologers who will use fixed stars and the asteroids and planetoids and comets and all sorts of cool things. And I've dabbled. So certainly that's all there as well. And all of it is something that we are measuring a position from the moment of our birth and the place of our birth to where they are now. And that relationship between those two places explains a lot about what we're going through and who we are. And a lot of astrology was created out of observations that when the moon is doing this is happening with the water here on Earth. When the moon is doing this is happening with the crops. When the sun is over here, this is when these animals come back over here. And when the sun is over here, the animals are gone. We can't find them. And so a lot of astrology was created off observations. And it's why Farmer's Almanac is almost like an astrological ephemeris, because it was an observation of the things that are happening on Earth relative to the things that we could witness in space, in the sky, even before we really knew what space was. So the meaning that is then attached to each of those things goes back to mythology and a lot of what was created. Depending on which astrological systems you're using, we're talking anywhere from 2 to 5,000 years of use. Like there's a legit type of some kind of astrology that's been practiced for thousands of years. And it's really cool to watch the patterns that have evolved and to notice, even if you're like a skeptic, which interestingly, a lot of astrologers are skeptics. They started out as skeptics and then they went, I'm going to prove this wrong. And they started studying some type of astrology. And then they were like, I actually didn't prove it wrong. It proved to me that it is right. There are a lot of astrologers who have that story. They have that, especially with different techniques. Like I wasn't too into progressions. And then I studied 100 charts and realized, oh my God, progressions are real. That's been me lately with Ferdaria, which is an ancient Persian technique, many thousands of years old. It's a Persian technique, Ferdaria, and I learned it from a couple of my astrology teachers and mentors in Australia because it is a technique that they have really popularized there recently. It's had a resurgence. Obviously, it's been around forever. Anyway, all of this to say, you can just track your own observations and say, well, Mercury affects communication through all the mythology and all the legend of astrology. And if we look at how much we've centralized communication in our lives right now, like constantly I don't have them within reach because I put them on the lily pad, which is the charger out there. But I have, a phone and I have an iPad and I have a bigger iPad because of course you have to have multiple size iPads for whatever reason, and we have all of this that we're communicating through right now. We have all of these different systems and things that we use to connect with one another very fast. And that is all very mercurial. And to use those things without a second thought and without, like, just as I mentioned in the bond blast that went out last night, consider not updating your gadgets right now because while Mercury is retrograde, I mean, obviously, if it is a critical security update, do it because there's a reason it's a critical security update. But if it's just like update to get the latest version of this app that you like to use and it can wait, if you can wait until October, you are going to have a much smoother experience with it. But everyone who has ever updated something and then had their phone turn into a brick and had to go restore it or had to buy a new one or whatever bullshit knows that if you could take a look at the patterns of how often that happens when there's something happening with Mercury, it makes it really easy to just say, you know what? Whether it's true or not, I'm going to make this little rule for myself that I'm going to not update all my things. So I updated everything right before Mercury went retrograde so that I can have like all the updates and then sit for 3 weeks. Luckily, this is a pretty quick one. We'll be out of Mercury retrograde by September 15th. It does still have like a hangover kind of effect for some people. I'm one of those folks who tends to, it's like, getting your period early. I get my astro early. And I think it's because I am so constantly aware of the month ahead because I make the Aligned Hustle calendar and the Chart Harmony calendar. And I'm working on the digital Chart Harmony calendar that y'all will be able to subscribe to soon. So excited. I am constantly aware of the astro that is happening ahead. So I think that's why I tend to get my transits early. But anyway, that's your mileage may vary. If you find that Mercury retrograde is an illusion that doesn't affect you, Janine, or anyone, then just go, cool. It doesn't affect me. But if it affects everyone around me, I can be forewarned that everyone else might have snags and I need to be prepared. I can be early to that meeting because I can expect someone's going to be running late. Someone's going to get snagged in traffic. Someone's going to have gotten the time wrong. Someone's going to have gotten the place wrong. And I'm going to not let it bug me. Donna, don't pout over your natal Scorpio moon, sweetheart. That's all right. That's all right. It is absolutely totally okay to have a natal Scorpio moon, but the feeling, the emotions of it. From having that natal Scorpio moon, that those feelings are really tender, that the moon is a little too sensitive for that sign. And just so you know, there are signs. Actually, I have a little guide. I can't show y'all because I'm streaming in a way that I can't share my screen, but I am going to look at my little handy reference graphic if I can find it here. Where it be? There it is. Nope, different one. Let me see if I can find my other one that I think it is. That one. Okay, I found it. All right. My God, that's huge. Okay, so let's change it. Let's make it smaller so I can see it and see y'all in the comments. There are certain signs that that the planets and the moon and the sun prefer to be in, and then others that they're not as happy being in. For those who, oops, wrong button. For those who know astrology and the terminology, this is essential dignities, basically. And it just means that there are signs in which the planets are more comfortable because they have everything they need. And so, for example, when I was talking to Alexandra about having a Mercury in Aquarius, Mercury doesn't have access to everything they need in Aquarius. They're going to be able to get to it. It's just not as comfortable because of that fixedness. And that's less an essential dignity and more another component, but the premise is the same. Let's talk specifically about the moon being in Scorpio. When the moon is in Scorpio, the moon, is in what's called fall. And fall is a kind of dignity. There are 4 kinds of essential dignity. There are lots of other kinds of non-essential dignity or accidental dignity and other kinds that we could talk about. But the main 4 to know are domicile, which means this planet is in a sign it rules. So that would be, when the moon is in Cancer, when Mercury is in Gemini or Virgo, when Venus is in Taurus or Libra, when the sun is in Leo, when Mars is in Aries or Scorpio, when Jupiter is in Sagittarius or Pisces, and when Saturn is in Capricorn or Aquarius. Those are domicile. What that means is when that planet is in that sign, it has everything it needs because it rules that sign. And so it's like if it's visiting a house, it can open every drawer and without looking, pull out every utensil that it needs because it knows what's there. Got it? Hardest part of my chart. Oh, Donna, I'm sorry, sweetheart. Yeah, I know. Yes. Absolutely. I know. Okay. Hey, Jill, good to see you too. Don't usually get affected by Mercury retrograde. Yeah, I wonder if you could share your thoughts on balancing between being aware of what things could happen in a Mercury retrograde and making sure we're aware that our thoughts create our reality. Yeah, absolutely. And Mercury is a really good planet to be looking at for that sort of thing. If we focus on it enough, we're going to create it for sure. If you go, oh my God, you're going to be late, then you're going to be late. Yes, of course. And that's incredibly mercurial. And so if during Mercury retrograde, we allow ourselves to be a little more thoughtful and spend a little more time on our thoughtfulness about timing and where we're showing up and what our commitments are and what our communication has been, all the better for everyone, hopefully. Okay, back to the dignity. So we've done domicile. The second kind, I was doing it this way. The second kind of essential dignity is called exaltation. And when a planet is exalted in a certain sign, that means that it is actually put up on a pedestal. It is completely revered, treasured, honored, given a place of authority. Now, this is good and bad. It's good to be treasured because it feels good, but to he whom is given much power, he is expected much responsibility. Much is expected. I don't know. Someone will write that in the chat. It is challenging to be in a place of exaltation the way it is challenging, I would imagine, to be Beyoncé. There are places that it's hard to go when you're Beyoncé because people expect a lot of you. And you can't do some of, thank you, with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you. There are some things that you can't do that you might want to do, like some just normal personality quirks that if they were to come out, you're going to get yelled at about them because you're Beyoncé and you can't behave like that. Okay, so just remember, exaltation is the Beyoncé placement. So for this, let's go through the planets again in that same Chaldean order, which is, this is true when the moon is in Taurus, when Mercury is in Virgo. So not only does Mercury rule Virgo, Mercury is also exalted in Virgo. So it's like doubled up. Both rules the place and a lot is expected there. And every Virgo just went, you got to tell me that a lot is expected of me. You got to tell me that I have to be perfect all the time. I know. Yes. Hello, Virgo season. I know. Okay. This is when Venus is in Pisces. She's exalted. When the sun is in Aries, he's exalted. When Mars is in Capricorn, he's exalted. When Jupiter is in Cancer, he's exalted. And when Saturn is in Libra, he's exalted. I can always remember when Saturn's in Libra, he's exalted, because Saturn loves justice and Libra is the scales of justice. So hello, Amber. So good to see you, darling. Thank you for joining in. Yeah, so think about that. If you have one of those planets exalted, that means it's in a sign where a lot is expected of it. And so let's just like talk through. Moon is really easy because we get to see the moon in each sign every month. When the moon is in Taurus, it actually just feels ooey gooier. It feels yummier. When the moon is in Taurus, we all want to take more naps. We want to eat more food. By the way, I manage my meals off the moon. I do not worry about, I use planetary days of the week, and I do not worry about what I'm eating under a Taurus moon, because under a Taurus moon or a Cancer moon, mama gonna eat. And that is what the moon says must happen. Okay, so you've got Jupiter in Cancer. Let's talk about that, Janine. Since you've got Jupiter in Cancer, you have an exalted Jupiter. What that means is in Cancer, Jupiter can expand and get into all the nooks and crannies because Cancer feels everything. If you think about the character, the avatar, the representative of the Cancer sign, the zodiac, that crab, on the spiny back of that crab, on those legs, all those little, they look like they would be little sticky cactus type things, right? Those are antennae. Every single one of those little things are antenna. So I guess that makes them collectively antennae that are picking up on everything that happens. Cancer feels everything, not just their own feelings, everybody's feelings. So Jupiter wants to expand everywhere. Jupiter wants to get everywhere. And so Jupiter being able to get everywhere that every feeling is an exalted place. But let's talk about, with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you, Vio. So with that great responsibility is you could blow out all of that empath vibe of Cancer. Like that is a lot of energy to be in control of. And anyone who's ever been around a Cancer losing their shit, you know, it's like nuclear. It is supersonic. It is explosive in a way that you don't expect. It's like, wow, that came from out of nowhere. And so Jupiter being in Cancer can be a lot of expectation for how big you can go with that energy and how much you can do. Awesome. Okay, good. It helps you when I reference TV shows. Okay, good. I'll remember that. I will absolutely do my best to keep the pop culture references coming. Okay, so Exaltation, just remember that's Beyoncé. You have a very, very, very special planet in a very, very, very special sign, but special like Beyoncé, she can't go to the grocery store. She just can't. I mean, I guess she could, but she would have to call ahead and have the place closed down first. Okay, great. Good. I'm glad. All right, so now we're going to go into the two that are less good news. We've done the two types of essential dignity. I'm so glad we have a topic. This is good because now I'll change the title of the live stream when it's up in replay, because we have a topic. We talked about essential dignities. Yay. We talked about domicile. We talked about exaltation. Now, number 3, detriment. When you have a planet in detriment, it's what it sounds like. Detriment means I can't get to my resources. I have one hand tied behind my back, and I've been asked to peel an orange. I can't get to what I need. It's here, but I can't get to it. I don't have access to the things that I need. And here they are. Ready? Here we go. So in detriment, the moon, Capricorn. Think about it. Capricorn says, I need to work. 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 And then when I'm done working, I need to work some more. Are you done working? Because I've got some more work to do. Capricorn. Moon says, I don't work for like a full quarter of the month because it's time to rest. It's time to renew. It's time to restore. So moon in Capricorn, detriment. because neither can do the thing that they think is supposed to be done. Okay, good, Amber. I'm glad. Yeah, this is turned out to be a good topic, and I came on saying I don't really have a topic, and we have a topic. Okay, so good. All right, great. Next, we have Mercury. Mercury is in detriment in 2 signs. I'm looking at my cheat sheet up here. Mercury is in detriment in 2 signs, and those signs are Sagittarius and Pisces. So let's think about this. Sagittarius says, I want to grow, I want to learn, I want to expand, I want to know everything, and I want to go really deep and really broad and really far and really high, and I want to do all the things. And Mercury's like, I'm just this little planet. I can't get to all of those things that you want to do, Sagittarius. Which is why a Sagittarius Mercury could be someone that loses their words easily, or they maybe were nonverbal until they were an older age than is typical. And then for Pisces, well, Pisces doesn't live on this planet, y'all. Pisces is in multi-dimensions simultaneously. And so a Pisces Mercury is having conversations on multiple dimensions, on multiple timelines, at multiple moments simultaneously, and then wondering why you don't understand them. You're waiting for your ship. Natal Mercury in Pisces, waiting for my ship. Right. It's hard to access the things that are typical of Mercury when you have your Mercury in Pisces or Sagittarius, because those are both Jupiter ruled signs, and they are just way bigger than Mercury can focus. So I'm glad that that makes sense. Waiting for your starship, of course. Yes, always true for all Pisces placements. Yes, exactly. All right. So if you've got verbal issues, if you grew up being told that you know, maybe you had a stutter, or maybe you are neurodivergent and had to go through special courses and classes with a different teacher when you were growing up, and things were not labeled as acutely as they are today, and you were like, I don't know why I have to take this remedial class. They would label it at that point in time, or at least in my Gen X childhood. A lot of times it's just because Mercury isn't being utilized in all the ways that Mercury would like to be utilized in these signs. And so that's considered detriment. Okay, so now we go through Venus is in detriment when she is in Aries or Scorpio. And you can probably figure out why. Both of those are very hot, very fast acting, and sometimes cruel signs. Aries, because it just pops off. Like Aries doesn't make a plan, it just goes. And Scorpio, we've already spent some time talking about Scorpio. Scorpio feels everything, and because they're fixed, they can't get away fast enough, so they use that stinger. And so a lot of times they'll sting first and then later realize, oh, maybe I didn't need to be so hot. That's that Mars rulership. And Venus likes things to be slow and easygoing, and, you know, tits out, feed me grapes. You know, Venus is not in a hurry. Venus is supple and yummy and decadent, and those Mars ruled signs make it really hot for her, and she likes things to not be like that. That's a little too much. When we look at the sun is in detriment in Aquarius. If you are an Aquarius birthday, if you are an Aquarius sun, you have a sun that doesn't like being in your sun sign. I know, really shitty, right? Because what it means is, from that position of Aquarius, the sun can't get to all of its tools. And if you think about this and go, oh, right, because the sun actually rules Leo, which is opposite Aquarius, that kind of makes sense. You're able to see that from Aquarius, the sun is farthest away from its baby. It's farthest away from Leo. And so it just doesn't feel resourced. And also, think about how Aquarius is all about the collective. Aquarius is all about society and technology and advances, and how do we make things better for everyone and do so in a way that feels detached from the emotion of it. And the sun is in Domicile in Leo, which is me, ego, self, shining, feeling so good to be in a body. And Aquarius is like, could I please not be in a body? When do the robots get here? Because I'm ready to get on my spaceship. And so that is a really interesting juxtaposition that happens there. And that's why the sun is considered in detriment in Aquarius. Mars is in detriment in Taurus and Libra. So just the same way that we had Venus in detriment in the Mars ruled signs, we have Mars in detriment in the Venus ruled signs words. Hi, Mercury Retrograde. I see you. Okay. So that means when Mars is in Taurus, Taurus is so slow. Taurus is so deliberate. And Mars is like, hey, I got a fight to do. Come on, let's go. I'm passionate. I'm fiery. I need to move. Don't you? Don't you, Alexandra? I do too. I do too. Okay. And Mars is also wanting to move fast without doing a lot of thinking about it or weighing things out. And anyone who's ever known a Libra knows that we are going to weigh everything out for 1,000 years before we make a decision. And it's because we are people pleasers. And the way that you make sure you please people is to make sure that you know what everybody wants all the time and make sure that everybody else is always taken care of. Okay, Libra, seriously, stop taking surveys and just start doing the thing. So Mars gets impatient with those Venus ruled signs. And that's why Mars is in detriment in those. VO Mars and Taurus. Okay. Yep. Because that Mars wants to pop off. And Taurus is like, you will think about what you're going to do first. So Mars can't get to his resources as easily. All right. There are obviously always ways we can take care of these things. That's why I created chart harmony, because you can do chart harmony for a planet in detriment or in this last category that we're going to get to next, because I have a beautiful story that I will tell you about my Mars in fall and how we deal with that. Okay. Jupiter is in detriment in the signs of Gemini and Virgo. So just like we dealt with Mercury being in detriment in the Jupiter ruled signs, Jupiter is in detriment in the Mercury ruled signs. They trade off for the same reason, because Jupiter wants to be huge and massive and expansive, and Gemini and Virgo want to be on the little details. They want to be in the teeny cracks and crevices of all the little things. They want to notice every little thing. Gemini loves to know what else. All that curiosity is right here in the local communication. Same with Virgo. They're like, I want to assess everything and I want to be able to see all the details all the time. And Jupiter is massive and expansive and wanting to go all the way out to other worlds. If it weren't for Saturn, Jupiter would swallow the solar system because it is just so massive. Let's see. Inner battle. Yep. Yeah, Vio, that's the idea of chart harmony. Yeah, that's the idea of chart harmony. And one of the slogans for it is you don't have to understand astrology. You just need chart harmony, which is get your chart in harmony with itself, because it's the chart you've got. So we find ways to get things hopefully moving more smoothly. And yeah, I'll tell the story about my relationship with my fallen Mars when we get into the fall stuff, because it's been a journey. It's been a journey, but it's one that chart harmony has healed largely, or continues to heal. It's ongoing. Okay, so then Saturn is in detriment when he is in Daddy Saturn, when he is in Cancer or Leo. Okay, when Saturn is in Cancer or Leo, he is in the signs that are ruled by the sun and the moon. I said that backwards. Moon for Cancer, sun for Leo. Okay. So Saturn in either of those signs is really wanting to exude control. And you kind of can't control the luminaries in the same kind of way. Saturn wants to cool things off. Saturn wants us to sleep. Saturn wants us to die. I mean, not like Saturn wants us to die. Sleep is temporary death. Saturn likes things to be cold and brittle and still. And Saturn's time, he ate time. This is his whole jam is let's let things be really slow and deliberate. And let's have boundaries. Let's have limits. Let's declutter. Let's prune. Let's get rid of the things that we don't need. And the sun and the moon are together what allows everything to grow and exist and breed. And so you could see how Saturn would feel a little limited by all the light that's reflecting around in both the sun and the moon ruled places, which are Cancer and Leo. Again, I said those backwards. Cancer's ruled by the moon, Leo's ruled by the sun. Okay, so we've done 3 so far: Domicile, Exaltation, and Detriment. Here's the last one. The fourth and final essential dignity is planets in fall. All right, planets are in fall in the way that detriment means they don't have access to resources. Fall means they are looked down upon. So you remember how exaltation is your Beyoncé? I don't know what would be the opposite of a Beyoncé. You know, what would be someone who so like a clout chaser, someone who so wanted to be famous, so wanted to be somebody, and they just couldn't hack it, couldn't do it, couldn't make it happen. And back in previous eras, we would have mocked this person for trying so hard. These days, we're kinder, hopefully, as society matures and realizes that bullying is actually a really great way to create mental illness in someone. Hopefully, we are maturing and growing and not being so awful to people whose dreams are not as easy or easily realized. I'm not saying Beyonce's had it easy. Please understand my analogy here. But a planet in fall not only can't access the resources, they are looked down upon. They are not privileged. They are the ones that society has said, we're going to put a foot on your neck and you are not going to be able to get to the things that you should be able to access because it's just going to be harder for you. And I can say basically anybody who's not a cishet, straight, white, able-bodied male in the English-speaking nations could say, I understand fall. Okay, so let's leave it at that. You understand. All right, planets in fall. The fourth kind of essential dignity. The moon is in fall in Scorpio. The moon is not respected in Scorpio. The moon is not understood in Scorpio. Scorpio wants to be under all the things. I joke about Scorpio saying, I not only want to dig up the rock so I can see all the worms wiggling under it, I also want to dig up all the worms and get all the way down into the ground to see what's under there. Scorpios really like to get to the bottom of all the things because they want to not ever have anybody having something on them. That's that. If you think about that stinger coming from over their back, there is that I will know everything so that you can't know it on me. It's a type of paranoia almost. And the moon is all the intuition, all the feelings. So she knows. And Scorpio doesn't like that. Scorpio and the moon have a tough relationship, hence the post-it I mentioned earlier. Okay. Mercury is in fall in Pisces. So just like with Virgo, we had Mercury in both domicile and exaltation. In our fall and detriment, there's Pisces, both places. So if you have a Pisces Mercury, not only is it in detriment, meaning you have lack of access to resources, you also socially have that stigma attached to not being able to access those resources. Where a Sagittarius Mercury can't access the research, can't access the, I just have the perfect metaphor for this. A Sagittarius Mercury may not have access to all the right words, but they're a college professor and they're just quirky because they have status in society. Pisces Mercury is going to be someone who is neurodivergent and nonverbal, and they are not going to be treated in the same way that a professor, a quirky professor, would be by most of society. That's a really good way to think of that Pisces Mercury. Okay. And of course, I just say Pisces Mercury is too busy talking at all the other different worlds simultaneously on all the different timelines. So can't be bothered with what's going on here in our human space, but whatever. All right, for Venus, a fallen Venus is a Virgo Venus. Sorry, Virgos. Those of you who have a Virgo Venus, which are a lot of people who are born Virgo, your Virgo sun can sometimes be in the same sign as your Venus. A Virgo Venus is in fall because Virgo wants to know all the details. Virgo is a healer. Virgo likes to see everything that is possibly wrong. Venus is a glamour. Venus wants everything to be beautiful. And the more you can see every wrinkle or every sag or every age spot or whatever, the less happy you're making Venus. Like, I don't know if kids today will remember this one, but we would say back in the Gen X era, we would say that Barbara Walters had a Vaseline filter on all of her cameras, that the camera that shoots Barbara Walters had Vaseline on it because she needed to have this, like, I am always ethereal and glowing and beautiful and you can't see all the cracks and whatever. Venus is like that. And Virgo is like, no, I need to itemize every single potential wrong thing. Yeah, he's a Monet. He's a straight up Monet. Yes. Thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. Yes. Okay. So when we have the sun in fall, it's Libra. The sun is in fall in Libra. And the reason the sun is in fall in Libra is because Libra wants justice. Libra wants things to be fair. Libra wants everything to be charming, yes, because Venus ruled, but also everyone to be treated equally. And the sun says, honey, some stuff is just going to be in shadow. Some stuff is going to be in a ray of sunshine, and some stuff is just always going to be under that shade. We can't treat everything equally. And sun in Libra has a hard time with that, because Libra believes that everybody can be treated the same and everything can be just. And it's kind of painful. The sun says it just doesn't work like that. And the sun is right. The fallen Mars, which I will be telling a big story about, is Cancer. If your Mars is in Cancer, you have a Mars that really doesn't like to be there. Mars likes to be hot and move fast and take action, and it's very passionate, and it likes to go to war. And so here's the story I always tell about it with my fallen Mars in Cancer. Mars comes to Cancer and says, I need to go to war. With what will you equip me? And Cancer looks around and says, oh, here's a kitten. And Mars holds a kitten and says, how am I supposed to go to war with this? Do you have anything else? And Cancer says, hang on. Here's a blanket. Here's a book. Here's some ice cream. And ice cream. And Mars is like, I need a broadsword. Like, could you please get me an actual weapon? And Cancer is like, I don't do weapon. I make you feel at home. And therefore, the way Cancer does Mars is looked down upon in society. This is also an indictment of, how we female, how we believe conversations of womanhood are to be addressed. There's a lot I could say about this, and a lot I have said about this. But the way we fight in a Cancer Mars is inherently, let's come together and see what we can work out. And Mars is like, no, I want to slash and burn everything and take it from those that I've conquered. And Cancer just doesn't do that. So you can see that there's a societal mismatch with that. And I'll come back to tell you the chart harmony that I've done for my fallen Mars, because hopefully it will inspire you to look into some chart harmony activities that you can do for a planet in detriment or fall. And we have 2 more left. Jupiter in fall in Capricorn. Jupiter is in fall in Capricorn because Capricorn wants to work and Jupiter wants to expand. And Jupiter doesn't believe that we have to work hard to be lucky. Jupiter believes that we can all have glitter and winning lottery tickets and all the booze and all the party all the time. And Capricorn says, you got to go to work now. They don't get along. That is not a good combination. So obviously there are chart harmony things you can do for a Jupiter in Capricorn, the same way there are for a Mars in Cancer, and so on, so on. Okay, so one last one in fall. Your Saturn is in fall if he is in Aries. This should make perfect sense because I just told you when we were doing the detriment that Saturn is slow and low and cold and brittle and taking lots of time. And let's think about it. Let's have boundaries. Let's move slowly. Let's really like declutter. Let's not add a bunch of things. Let's not be extra. And Aries is like, I'm a puppy. I want to be extra all the time. I want to start a bajillion things. If you've ever met that Aries energy of I will start 1,000 projects, and Saturn's like, I'm gonna need you to declutter all of these that you're not actually doing. You feel it. You feel the Saturn in Aries. Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Kittens can be vicious. True. I did. You know what? I did too. I have a scar right here from one of my kittens from years and years and years ago, and it has not gone away because that was a really tender spot that she just sliced right there, and another one right there that's more recent and more faint. Anyway, let's compare our kitten scars, right? All right. So I will take your questions for your planets in essential dignities. Do you have them in domicile? Do you have them in exaltation? Do you have them in detriment? Do you have them in fall? I'm happy to take your questions in these last 10 minutes, but also I'm going to now, while you're putting your questions in the chat, tell you some of the chart harmony remedies that I have done for my fall in Mars, because you heard me mention I have a Mars in fall. If you have one planet in fall or detriment, doing chart harmony is going to be really straightforward because you've got a thing you can do or a collection of things you can do to help that planet do its thing better without taking it out on you. If you have multiple planets in detriment or fall, you may have to do a little combo, and that may be a little more advanced. But the good thing about chart harmony is you can layer it on. I was actually just giving an example to this. I'm in a medical astrology mentorship, and we were having our big meetup on Saturday. And I was being asked about chart harmony and, you know, how I prescribe things, because I'm like, I'm taking medical astrology courses because I want to get as dangerous as I can with medical astrology without getting any kind of certification or becoming a doctor or an herbalist or a naturopath or anything. Because I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to have some knowledge because I like that, because I got Gemini in the 9th house. So of course I'm going to do all that. Okay. So I was asked, like, what's an example of a non-medical remedy that you would give to somebody who has whatever condition we were talking about? And I said, well, look at it this way. If I tell you to go get a massage, that's for Venus. If I tell you to make sure that they use CBD oil in the massage, that brings in Saturn, because Saturn is associated with cannabis. And the why behind that is because hemp, cannabis, like every bit of this plant can be used. And Saturn loves that efficiency. Saturn loves that we're not going to leave anything unused. Saturn is very much like, if we think about First Nations and our native residents of the land that we settlers occupy, they respect animals and use every piece of the animal. That is a very Saturn type of approach to it. And so that's the same reason that Saturn and cannabis go together. And so getting a massage while interacting with cannabis brings in both Venus and Saturn. So you could serve both of those that way. So for me, doing chart harmony for Mars and my sweet little fallen Mars, oh, he's so unhappy. He's so unhappy also because he's at the top of my chart, and Mars likes being in the bottom half of your chart. If you've got Mars in, Mars likes being in, yeah, 1st house through 6th house. And if you've got Mars in one of the upper houses, 12th, 7th, 8th, not so bad. But once we get into 9th, 10th, 11th, Mars is like, let me rule the underworld. What are you doing putting me up here? And so I, of course, have Mars up in my 10th house with my sun, with my Mercury, with my midheaven. I'm like, just putting it right up on Maine in a fallen house. Like, that Mars is embarrassed. Because remember, I said fall is also societally not accepted. So I like spent years showing out in not appropriate ways according to society. And a lot of that was Mars getting his needs met. So My chart harmony for Mars, personally, is every single day I am doing something to show Mars I respect you. Every time I use a knife, I say, thank you, Mars, for cutting this and not me, because Mars rules knives, blades, accidents. Mars is fire. I light incense or candles or something every single day. And when I light that fire, I say, Mars, thank you so much for harnessing fire. Thank you so much for expressing here. I have a place on my altar. I have several altars, but one of my altars has a place for Mars where I offer tributes. Mars is the planet for the military. And so there are things that you can do, like donate. You can donate money to military organizations or to veterans of wars, the Wounded Warrior Project. Like any of these types of things would be ways to show respect for Mars in the ways that Mars likes to show up. But it can also just be wear red. And if you're like, I don't look good in red, wear red knickers, wear red socks. This says, hi, Mars, I see you, I respect you. Okay, very good. All right, let's look at your questions. Let's look at your questions. Okay. All right. I am a puppy. Aries, Sun, and Moon battling that Saturn and Aries. Aries, yep, will do. Yep. What do you do about Moon and Venus and Scorpio? Oh, Sahara. Okay, first of all, they are different. So let's talk about the detriment of the Venus Scorpio and the fall of the Moon in Scorpio. So a Venus detriment in Scorpio is going to feel like I can't get to what I need here. Venus wants things that feel good. Venus wants creature comforts. Venus wants sensual pleasure. Venus wants to purr. Venus is just like Eartha Kitt purr. Like Venus wants to be sexy. Venus wants to feel worshipped. Venus is rubbing the creamiest, most yummy lotion on and then just basking and letting it soak in your skin. Venus likes things that feel good. And so a Venus in Scorpio may be looking for, what's the agenda? If I feel this good, something's going to happen. Something bad's going to happen. And so it would be practicing doing things that specifically feel good and saying, and Scorpio, there's no downside to this. There's no, like, you're not being vulnerable by feeling good. A lot of times the Venus Scorpio can have some sexual issues. I'm not saying this for you or anyone. This is not a prescription. I am not a doctor. I do not play one on TV, but they can have some hangups that if you allow yourself to role play and go there and lose yourself. Scorpio loves it when other people lose themselves, not so much when they lose themselves. So a Venus in Scorpio could maybe experiment with things that feel really good, almost to a sexual level of pleasure. And that might be a way to bring together some of what Scorpio gets off on and what Venus feels luxurious in. For the fallen moon in Scorpio, with this, it really is legit every single month. When the moon is in Scorpio, do some sort of ritual, do some sort of connecting that says the moon is here for our intuition. The moon is here for our feelings. The moon is here to help us get our needs met. And Scorpio will say, I don't have any needs. I'm okay. Scorpio moon, you do have needs. You do have needs. You just don't want to appear vulnerable. And so it would be allowing vulnerability. And I have a blog post called Circles of Safety. If you've not done work with me before, I recommend that you check out Circles of Safety before deciding with whom you can be vulnerable. You can just Google Bonnie Gillespie Circles of Safety. You'll land on it. The Circles of Safety, or someone can put it in the chat also if you happen to know that blog post. But I think it is legit. BonnieGillespie.com/ and then Circles of Safety with dashes between Circles of Safety. Anyway, you have to know the people with whom you can be vulnerable before you can truly be vulnerable. And I want you to feel safe before you do any of this, because just remember, one of Scorpio's biggest things is they're out to get me. And every time they've ever been hurt is, see, I was right. And then that proof makes it easier for them to be very self-protective, especially about vulnerability. And both Venus and the moon are asking for you to be not only vulnerable, but enjoy vulnerability. And that's a tall order. So I'm sending you lots of love and hugs, Sahara. Let me know how that feels. Let's see. Need chart harmony for Jupiter in Gemini. Okay, Janine. Chart harmony for Jupiter and Gemini, you're going to want to do things that feel expansive without feeling like you have to catch all the details. Luckily, Gemini is not quite as particular as Virgo with all the details, but Gemini always wants to know, well, what am I missing? Gemini has that curiosity of, well, I want to do this. Ooh, but what's over there? Okay, I want to do this. Oh, but what's over there? You know, there's this energy of maybe that cooler thing is the thing I didn't choose. And so if there's a way that you can do things that are for Jupiter, Jupiter is wear purple, wear royal blue, anything that's regal, put on glitter, wear some like, you know, sparkly, highlighty type things, lots of bling. Order the top shelf liquor. If you're going to have a drink, make sure it is the best. Buy a lottery ticket. Like these are all things that you can do for Jupiter. Anything that is sparkly or extra, those are going to be Jupiter qualities. Eat dessert first. That's a way to do a tribute to Jupiter. For Gemini, a Gemini Jupiter, it would be order both desserts and sample them both. And anything that you can do like that, it doesn't just have to be food. That's just an easy example to give, allows Gemini to feel like, oh, okay, good. I'm not excluded from knowing what else there is because Jupiter can allow both. And really, he can. Try that. Let's see. We've got Mars in Leo. At 0 degrees, it's not so much that you'll have Mars in Cancer filtering over, Jill. It's that while things are transiting late degrees Cancer, you will start feeling your 0 degree Leo placements getting that transit before anything is actually moved over into that sign. Yeah, it's almost like there's a little like bumper car almost, and you can feel the energy coming to the edges like that. Yeah. Sun in Libra in fall, moon in Scorpio in fall. Donna, you're okay, baby. You're okay. So take what I said about the moon in Scorpio in fall and do all of that. And then with the sun in Libra in fall, it is to just remind your sweet sun in Libra, life's not fair. We're not going to be able to make it fair. It is going to be challenging to try and make it feel fair to everyone all the time. But what we can do about it is we can choose that we are going to live in a world of fairness and equality and making things feel right. That's can you make things right in your own world, even if you can't change the world? And eventually enough people doing that does change the world. So there's the nice byproduct of that. Oops, it jumped. Hang on. Raina, 4 in Detriment. Moon, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. Raina, you need a chart harmony buffet for sure. Okay, so Moon we've talked about, Venus we've talked about, Jupiter we've talked about. So let's talk about that Saturn. So if you've got your Saturn in Detriment, it means we're going to want to do things that serve Saturn. Saturn day is Saturday. Saturn loves vow of silence. No tech. Saturn loves wear black. Saturn loves boundaries. Set boundaries. You can serve Saturn by doing all of those things, decluttering. Like I use planetary hours. I don't have my phone in here, but there's an app. There are lots of apps, but there's this really great app that's just called the Hours app that tells you when the planetary hours switch. And it's not an exact hour. It's like 50 something minutes. And sometimes it's 60 something minutes. And it depends on where you live, what time of day, what time of year it is. But yes, I'm working on my own app, of course. There are planetary hours that shift throughout the day, every day. And you could even every Saturn hour that you notice, just open a drawer and declutter it. And you are doing a service to Saturn. And that can help. But by having 4 planets in Detriment, you're going to want to work out little things that you can do that are super small that you can do all the time because you're just tending to a farm of special needs with these planets. And I don't want you to overwhelm yourself with any one activity or action that feels grand because you don't have a grand situation. You have a multiple needs in multiple places situation, and you have to find a way to tend to all of that without overwhelming yourself. Okay, excellent. Okay, good. Jackie is definitely doing Saturn tributes with Wake and Bake Life. Well done. Absolutely. Yes, that is Saturn loves all of that. Okay, excellent. Not a question, but I love coordinating colors for chart harmony, especially since more often than not, I seem to instinctually gravitate toward the color of the day before I check. Me too, Alexandra. It's awesome. I was like, this isn't really purple for Jupiter's day. I mean, it is. It doesn't appear on camera the same kind of way, but for sure, anything that you can do that pulls in even just the color or the style of clothing that you wear each day with that planetary day, you're already doing a tribute. And it's just so easy. And everybody who's watching this who's like, I need more information, you can go to chartharmony.com. You can also Google Bonnie Gillespie chart harmony or chart harmony 101. I have a series of free blog posts. I have webinars for free over at my Teachable space. There are all sorts of free and not free resources that I have available to you that you can explore for all of this. If you're like, I want to know what the colors are for each day of the week, I've got it. I've got you. It's all over there. I got it. You're absolutely welcome, Sahara. My pleasure. Scorpio rising right now is like, I'm disappearing. Alexandra, the fact that you love on this work, even with Scorpio rising, is awesome. Because Scorpio rising, a lot of times will be like, I don't even want to talk to people who know astrology because that's them knowing too much of my business. And so the fact that you have already built a relationship with your Scorpio parts to come forward and have these conversations means you've already done a lot of work at getting your Scorpio tendencies to allow for vulnerability in around people you trust. Obviously, it's, circles of safety, but I don't mean for this to be a rag on Scorpio broadcast at all, or any sign or any planet, because with all of this, we all have all signs, we all have all planets, and we got to get them all getting along. I mean, or not, we can live our lives without them getting along just fine. I mean, I don't know, define fine. I like to optimize my experiences. And so part of chart harmony is making everything that my life is about feel as good as I can make it. Yeah. Sounds doable. Thank you. Okay, great, Raina. I'm glad. Yeah, I think I like astrology because it means I get to know everyone's business. Alexandra, yes. Yes, I've always been obsessed with people's birthdays because obviously I grew up, astrology was like my first language outside of, growing up learning English. Like astrology and numerology were my childhood tongue. Like that's absolutely what I grew up speaking and continue to. And knowing people's birthdays has always been an obsession because I'm like, that's all I need to know. I don't even actually need to know the year you're born to know a lot about you. I don't know your big three if I don't know your year and time and place and all that. But just knowing your numerology, just knowing your sun sign, I'm probably going to be pretty close to what is your Venus and what is your Mercury because they travel right along with the sun. I mean, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of information and I kind of love it. Yes. Okay. Rock on. I was just looking at something purple, Jupiter and Gemini. So I'm taking this as permission to buy it. Janine, yes. Jupiter would say yes. One of the things I say about Sphere and Sundry, which is a really great website for planetary remediation materials, is, hide your credit cards before you go look at the Sphere and Sundry website. Freeze them in blocks of ice if you have to. Do not have your credit card number memorized before you shop at Sphere and Sundry. But definitely don't shop on Jupiter day or during Jupiter hour because you will way overspend, says someone who is completely way overspent on Sphere and Sundry things. All right, y'all. We've been going more than an hour. Oh my gosh. We did it. Another live stream. Yay. Happy Virgo season. Happy Mercury retrograde. Happy Venus retrograde for just a few more whats? How many more days? 10 more days. We have 10 more days of Venus retrograde. And then, yes, thank you. Like, subscribe, share with others. I don't know all the things you're supposed to say on the YouTube thing. Thank you. Thank you for helping me make my comeback to live streaming so much easier. Please join us at bonniegillespie.com/webinar for tomorrow's amazing webinar on aligning your nervous system with the solar system. Oh my God, I'm so excited. So excited. That's going to be amazing. I will be getting you your workbook for that later today. So if you have signed up, look for email from me later today, Thursday, the 24th, because I will be getting you your workbook. And yes, there will be a replay. So those of you watching far past it having happened, you'll be able to access a replay. Just come on over to my spaces over at bonniegillespie.com or bonniegillespie.teachable.com. /courses, something like that. Just Google me. I'm easy. I'm easy that way. The second Venus goes direct and we go, oh, exhale, yay, one less thing retrograde. The very next day, Jupiter goes retrograde. So 'tis retrograde season. Enjoy. Retrograde just means we're going to turn all this energy inward and take a look at what's going on with ourselves in the issues that these planets and where they are manage. All right. I love you, beautiful people. Thank you for the purple hearts. Those are very good for Jupiter Day. Beautiful. Thank you for enjoying this learning and spending this time with me. I love you all. I will see you next time. Don't know when that'll be. Keep an eye on BonnieGillespie.com/events because I try to update that with all the places I'm going to be, when and where. Love you all. Take care. Bye.